Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Friday and welcome to Wicca 202. Let's talk about mushrooms. These are tricky little fungi, aren't they? Some are delightfully tasty and others can make us ill or even cause death. And some form of mushrooms can take us out of body. Mushrooms are to be handled with care. So before eating them, we should make sure that it is safe for us to do so. And when in doubt, don't. Now, before we begin, let it be known that I will not be commenting on the psychotropic qualities of some varieties of mushrooms, and there are two reasons for this. Number one, I have never used mushrooms for this purpose, so I can't speak firsthand about its effects upon one's state of mind, psychic senses, lingering effects, anything of that nature. And number two, as a general rule, I do discourage the use of any substance, whether it's natural or constructed in a laboratory, for the purposes of magical or spiritual awakening. I distrust shortcuts of this kind, because with all shortcuts, there's always a cost, and you may find that it's higher than what you were prepared to pay. Disciplined meditation, path working, practicing the skills of a witch will be enough to get those who have this calling where they need to go. The process may be slower. It may be harder, but in the end, you will know that the results are something that you have earned, and they are a consequence of all your hard work and your commitment. If an individual cannot awaken their senses enough to work magic without getting this outside help, then that person was not meant for witchcraft. But in no way does this make that person a failure or lesser in any sense of the term. It just means that their strengths and talents lie in other directions, and when they're looking for spiritual fulfillment, they just need to focus their energy elsewhere. So, that out of the way, let's move on. Mushrooms are sometimes called toadstools, and it seems that there's a bit of terminological conundrum regarding these words. From what I was reading, there's never been a real proper consensus about which term to use for which fungi, and the definition of both words for many centuries wasn't all that precise. Go figure. However, many people do use mushroom to refer to an edible variety, and they will use toadstool to refer to poisonous varieties. But again, always double check a mushroom that you intend to eat is actually suitable for human consumption. It is actually possible to grow your own mushrooms at home. That way you know that everything is in order. There are kits that you can use to get you started, or you can create your own area to grow these tasty treats. Mostly this is done indoors rather than outside, but of course your local environment may actually be suitable depending on where you live. You just have to be aware of your circumstances. Some people like to use their basement for this purpose. Mushrooms do seem to prefer cool, dark, and damp places. Other people actually have mushroom cabinets for this purpose. The growing medium you'll need to use will depend upon what kind of mushroom you are growing. Chicate mushrooms seem to like hardwood, sawdust. Oyster mushrooms are grown on straw, and white button mushrooms prefer composted manure. So in view of that, you may want to take a look at the ventilation situation and what needs that. Just because I don't think that the smell of composted manure is something I really want in my basement. So ventilation and handle with care. That's what I would suggest. Once you do have the area and your pan you're going to grow the mushrooms in prepared, you'll need to ensure that the temperature is at 70 degrees or so. Some people will use a heating pad for this purpose with success. Then the mushroom spawn is placed in the growing material, and after 3-ish weeks, the spawn will have rooted, which means that their filaments have spread into the growing material. At this point, you'll want to drop the temperature to between 55 and 60 degrees. You'll cover the spawn with an inch or so of potting soil, and then cover the soil and pan with a damp cloth and periodically spray that cloth to ensure proper moisture levels. After 3 to 4 weeks, small mushrooms should be visible, and you will know they are ready to harvest when the cap has fully opened and separated from the stem. It's said that homegrown mushrooms actually taste better than what you find at the store, so if you can find the space to grow the mushrooms, this may be something you want to experiment with. Of course, mushrooms also have their magical properties, and we can take advantage of them without using them as a drug. For one, mushrooms growing in a circle are called fairy rings, and when they pop up in the yard, that is considered to be a sign of fae activity. The strongest magical association with mushrooms possess are with the fae just in general. So if you do see this fairy ring, you might consider leaving offerings of milk, honey, and homemade bread in the vicinity, just in case you do have any unseen guests. Might as well get relations off to a good start. The god Odin is also associated with mushrooms, likely in the context of inducing altered states of consciousness and going on shamanic journeying. Again, I would caution against this sort of thing. Spiritual breakthroughs tend to be healthier for people when they actually work for them rather than taking a shortcut. We can always draw upon the powers of edible mushrooms through magical cooking. Even without inducing an altered state of consciousness, eating mushrooms safely can increase our awareness of other realms, awaken our creativity, enhance our magic, our fertility, and help us receive messages and omens. So now for the homework for November 4th through November 10th. Number 1, what variety of mushrooms are native to the area you live in? How many are edible? How many are toxic? Take notes and try to learn how to distinguish between the two. Number 2, if you are able, incorporate edible mushrooms into the menu one evening this week. Take this opportunity to perform a bit of kitchen magic and infuse the mushrooms with your intention. Record your results. And number 3, research about the magical lore on mushrooms. Most pagans are aware of the mushroom associations with the Fae, but go deeper. See what you can find. So that does it for this week's class. If you have comments, questions, concerns, please leave them for me in the comments section, or better yet, come to see me on Gilded. There's a link to join the group in the description box. Our server is called Blackbird's Brew. Just let me know that you came after you saw this video. You were wanting to discuss, perhaps with the Wicca 202 classes or various other magical things. Just let me know why you're there, and we'll see if we can get you hooked up with some information that might be useful to you. But that will do it for now, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.